Hey folks, welcome back to Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. We're still waiting for Greg to get here. First things first, I want to know how is the video, how's the audio, guys? Let me know what you see and what you're hearing.
See the spinny arrow to your right? Click this.
Roger that. Roger that. Let's see
And
how we're
it's
going.
working on that.
All right, we're working. How's the audio? How's the video, guys? Let me know what's going on. How's things in your neck of the woods, folks? What your gas prices like? What's your weather like? Talk to me. Talk to me. Good on my end. 5x5. Excellent. Excellent.
5x5.
Excellent.
Now, what does that mean? We were speaking of this earlier. I wanted to know exactly what. 25. My volume,
25.
My volume only goes to 10. 25.
Hey, Silverback, how are you? Corey Bloomer, what's happening, buddy? Sunset, welcome. Coach Doug, how are you? William Alexander, gas 465. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. We might have to go down here to the volume button a little bit. What's happening, SKM Keith? How are you, brother?
Just click the volume button.
Let's see here.
See that slider right there?
There we go. We'll slide it up.
Now you want to hear us talk?
Yeah, let me know if you guys get any feedback or an echo. Hey, our busy acre, how are you? Yeah, 419. We're about the same here, Ice One. About 419 a gallon. It's not as bad as it was. Yes, it means 25. Sunset agrees. 25. 25 is the magic number.
It sounds like it's easier to say that.
What's happening, Sean Doe? How are you, brother? We're just waiting for Greg to join up with us here, and we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty. He should be on his way. I don't think we're having any technical difficulties. So. Oh, cool, Doug. 344 in Oklahoma. Wow, you guys are living good up there. Patty, how are you? Nice to see you again. Sincoy, how are you? Greg should be here shortly, but we're going to talk tonight about a little bit about Ukraine and where we think it's going and how bad things could really get, I guess. So we'll see what kind of input Greg has. He's been following this for an awful long time, guys. He started. He actually called this last April. He said that Putin was going to take Ukraine one way or another, and sure enough, he was right. He called it right from the go. So we're going to see what his thoughts are moving forward and what we can do. And we're going to talk a little bit about prepping and survival as well. Hey, Ice One, how are you? Thanks so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. Gray Man's a great dude. He's got an awesome channel. Hey, Ice One, how are you? Thanks so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. Gray Man's a great dude. NY is good. Yeah, I love it here in New York. The Hudson Valley is like one of the most beautiful places in the world, in my opinion. I've lived here my whole life, and I've traveled a little bit, and this is it, man. This is where it's at.
Michael, it would appear that I have received a firmware update.
The Russian bot is now officially our British bot.
Apparently, the sanctions have taken effect, and they have taken. I am now a British bot.
A British bot.
There British you go. Bot. British and bot. I will now talk like this for the rest of the live stream.
This should be great. This should be great. Hey, Rhonda, how are you? Thanks so much for coming. Gray Man's a great dude. He's a great dude. I love his channel. Until you come out here, you'll love it more. I don't know, man. This is home, brother. This is always home. It's always home.
Michael, should we talk about like the purpose of the live stream and why we're here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to talk about the way things are looking, guys. There's like no out from here for anybody. Russia has completely been cut off from the West, and now they are isolated, and they're kind of like a wounded animal. So we need to be really, really careful moving forward. Biden came out yesterday and said that cyber attacks are almost a matter of fact at this point. So we need to have our guard up and keep the vehicles gassed up, keep some cash in your pocket, because if those machines don't work anymore, neither do the ones and zeros in your bank account, guys. So something to think about. Always keep cash on hand and keep an eye on things, because we know how bad they can go, how fast they can go bad, right? How fast they can go bad.
Now, Michael, what perhaps are some tips you could offer, like the average person, in terms of what you just had mentioned, where we find ourselves completely entwined in a sort of digital, virtual world? How does one take steps to disconnect from such
It
situation?
would have to be a slow weaning process, right?
It sounds a bit jarring.
It does. Hey, Harvey Black, how are you? So yeah, I think retracting from the world that we're in.
What do you suppose to be things that actually move? Now, we talk about things being worth money, but we don't actually even see our money. It's not real.
Well, it's the ones and zeros on the computer, right?
It's a number on a screen somewhere.
It's the ones and zeros.
What then does one do when that proverbial screen on the computer is not there?
That's when you've got to look to friends and family. You got to talk to actual people, Livingston, man. You got to talk to actual people.
Actual people.
Like me.
Well, they don't like you. Yeah. I've only been programmed to really connect with what you talk about. I don't interact with others. I've done it once or twice, and I've been called a Russian bot.
That's right. Our very own live Russian bot.
I'm not sure what a troll is, but
you may be one.
Continually call me one of those, and I'm just like, but I'm telling the truth. And they're not hearing it. So about this Ukraine thing.
The thing, yeah.
What is happening in the Ukraine? What's going on? What's Putin's problem?
Well, we have a resident expert on this that we're going to bring on right now, and he's going to give us the skinny on everything.
I'm delighted.
And I would like to welcome our special guest this evening, Greg, aka New York Prepper. He's my good buddy. He's not in New York anymore, but I don't hold it against him. Everybody's leaving New Yorkistan. So I'd like to welcome my good buddy Greg, NY Prepper, to the
show. On.
How are you, Greg?
Good to see you.
It's good to see you, brother. How's Greg's audio? How's Greg's video? Oh Jesus, he's putting me on his lap. How's everything on your end, Greg? How are you, buddy?
Everything's good here, man. Everything's good. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I thought about changing my name. It's just a matter of, rebranding everything. It's a pain, you know what I mean? So that's why I just kept my name the way it is.
Let's see if we can. There we go. That's much better. Yeah, so I don't think you need to change your name, man. You're New York Prepper. You're always going to be New York Prepper. You're from here. This is home. You're always New York Prepper to me, buddy. So
cool, man.
I'm actually from London. I'm Livingston. What works?
Greg, this is my buddy, the Livingston man. Livingston man.
How's it going?
Nice to meet you guys.
We're friends on Facebook.
Yep. Greg's got a huge social media presence. He really does. He's got his own website. Why don't you tell the folks a little bit more about NY Prepper as a whole, man? You've got a lot of resources for folks, and why don't you tell everybody what you got that you're between your YouTube and your website and everything you got going on?
Yeah, I just pretty much focus mostly on my YouTube channel, but I update my website occasionally. I have like a blog where I post stuff in there. I have nuclear war survival information there, nuclear war targets, different survival stuff on there. I have a discussion forum. So it's definitely something to take advantage of. I have a Twitter. I mostly use Twitter. If I don't have time to post an update on YouTube, I'll just, write something quick or sometimes if you have like a video that you want to share, but you can't share it on YouTube, like a lot of the war footage from Ukraine, for example, you can't share it on YouTube because you'll get a strike because it's like graphic footage. So I'll use Twitter for that, you know. But that's what I usually post. That's where I usually post: Twitter, YouTube, and then my website occasionally. So
yeah, the Discord too, man. The Discord's a great resource also.
Yep, Discord. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of great information on that Discord server.
Yep.
May I interject now? I'm an avid YouTube and internet consumer. I hear a lot of this talk of Discord, and I don't know what it is. Can the two of you elaborate a little bit?
Well, Greg could probably tell you better than me. I'm not.
Discord. I hear lots of people talk about Discord. I don't know what it is. What is it?
Yeah, Discord is just like it's just like an app, so you can chat with people. You know, it's like a chat room. You know, so anybody could join in. You can talk with anybody. You know, it's just like a chat room. That's all it is, really.
Is it like that Chatterbait site I've read so much about?
I don't think so.
But with political views,
yeah.
All right.
Well, there's a lot of good prepping information on there. There's a lot of good survival knowledge on there, and I think it's a great resource for people to tap into. And you know, it's all right there at your fingertips, guys. So while the internet is still available, use it as much as you can.
Yeah, we want to. You need alternatives to these sort of mainstream social media things. But there's a lot less censorship, right?
Yeah.
You be able to say what you need to say without some guy somewhere saying, I don't like that, and then pulling it off.
Yep.
So these alternative outlets, right?
Yep.
Pay attention, folks. There's other sites out there besides these.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we, you know, unfortunately, we have to go to, you know, the YouTubes and the small places to get real news anymore, because everything else is just pushing a narrative. So
yeah,
I'm really happy to have people like you, Greg, you know, constantly updating folks on what's actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just, you know, keeping a finger on the pulse, man. It's not easy to do, and I really commend you for all the hard work you put in, brother. You really
thank
put
you.
in the time, man.
It's a lot of time.
So what are your thoughts on where this is at now in Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
and where do you see this going? Really, you know, what kind of end game do you see?
That's the $1 million question. I think everybody wants to know, but I mean, based on
fantasy, Gregory, how's it going to play out, right? Just go, just roll.
That's right. We're not going to hold you to anything, but you've been absolutely 100% correct on the money since last April when you said this was going to happen. So, yeah. You've been right on with everything, and I highly value your opinion. And let's hear it, man. Where's it headed?
All right, so we'll start with where it's going. I mean, I think personally that there's two scenarios that could happen. One is that Putin is going to increase his level of force because he's not getting what he wants. So he's just going to keep, you know, increasing his force, bigger bombs, possibly nuclear, possibly chemicals. You know, he could use chemicals to clear out the cities, for example. He could just, you know, put chemical munitions inside of cluster munitions that they can launch from artillery, and they can just deploy chemical weapons into all the cities. And that would clear out all the guerrilla fighters, all the resistance, without having to clear each building door to door. I could see that happening. I could possibly see small yield nukes being used, possibly. That would be like the worst case scenario if Putin really gets desperate and he decides to just go to that extreme level of just basically leveling the country, you know. Yeah. Because for him, it's all a big strategic game. You know, he realizes that if Ukraine becomes westernized, it's a big threat for him. You know, it's kind of, what's that?
They were well on their way to being westernized. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So even if he doesn't occupy the country, but if he basically destroys their military and, you know, levels the country, he doesn't have to occupy it. He's basically putting them back 30 years, in terms of their capabilities. So that could be one scenario. Then the question is, if he uses chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, he goes to those extremes, is NATO going to get involved? Are we going to, do something at that point? Because so far he's only been using conventional weapons. But if he did use, let's say, small nukes in Ukraine, would we get involved? What do we do there? I don't know. That's a big question. But that's like the worst case scenario. The other scenario is that he just keeps bombing with conventional weapons and just basically tries to beat Ukraine into submission just by pummeling them with bombs, like he's been doing the last 2 weeks, because he realized like after the first week or so, I think he realized that the Ukrainian military was putting up much bigger of a fight, So I think at some point he changed his strategy and he said, okay, why should we just send in all our tanks and all our men to go in and get slaughtered by the Ukrainians with javelins? Let's just hang back and just use artillery and bombs and stuff. And so that's what he's doing now. And I think he's going to continue that until he gets a surrender from the government of Ukraine. And then the question is, so those are like the two big scenarios, one is that Ukraine surrenders. The other scenario is that they keep fighting back and then Putin just keeps escalating. Of course, Putin could just walk away. And even if he walked away right now, he would have had a lot of strategic gains because he took the whole land bridge to Crimea, which was critical for him. He took Chernobyl, which is huge. And then he also took the Zaporizhia power plant, which is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. He took that over. So even if he were to just walk away right now and keep what he got, he would still come out victorious. So there's multiple scenarios that could play out. And then the question becomes, what is he going to do with Zelensky? Let's say Zelensky surrenders and he says, okay, fine. We surrender. Is he then going to try to assassinate Zelensky at some point in the future? I think he would. I think he wants to get rid of him and the whole government. So those are probably the biggest scenarios that I see happening. And that's also not just my own opinion, but that's what a lot of government officials, like retired generals, are saying that. Also, Marco Rubio, he's on the Intelligence Committee in the Senate, so he has access to top secret,
a lot of sensitive information.
Yeah, and he's basically saying the same thing, and his predictions have been right so far. So that's how it could play out. I mean, I personally don't think Putin will just give up that easily. I think he's gonna, he's getting older. He's, going to be 70 this year, and he wants to have some kind of a legacy. That's been his biggest goal, is to re-establish the USSR, and he realizes that time is running out for that goal.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the reason why he's been moving so strategically and so slowly, is because he's in it for the long game. He didn't show all his cards right away.
Yep.
And he may look weak right now, but I think the big red bear is just getting rolling, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I think also this whole war exposed a lot of Russia's military capabilities, because so far we haven't really been able to see what they can actually do. I mean, we saw a little bit in Syria, we saw a little bit in like Chechnya, Georgia. We've never actually seen the current Russian military operate on a large scale invasion. So now we know that their ground forces suck. They have really good.
Can I stop you on that note?
Yeah.
We knew for months in advance, with advanced satellite imagery, exactly everything the Russians were doing across their own border. Now, all of a sudden, the narrative would seem to be presented that we're not quite sure what the Russians are up to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really hard to tell you. I mean, we don't really know. In the terms of these disinformation campaigns, especially these two dueling ones going on, who are we supposed to believe at this point in terms of the information we're being given?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, it's hard to really trust who's, and that's another thing too, that it's like, why, they knew from like last year, you remember, when I was covering the initial troop buildup like a year ago, I mean, that's just public information. We knew that something was brewing. Imagine what our intelligence agencies knew. I mean, they're flying 24/7 ISR flights all the time in that area. They know a lot of what's going on. Why did they wait until 2 weeks before the invasion to suddenly at the last minute start sending equipment in? They should have done it like last year, and that's kind of weird. Makes you wonder if it's not like one big plan or something, or
Yeah.
if they gave Putin the green light to just go in there and like, I don't know, maybe it's possible that like Biden had a meeting with Putin and said, listen, you can go in Ukraine, but don't go anywhere else. You know, maybe they had like an agreement like that. I don't know.
Secret treaty. This was done all the time back in the World War II days, the good old days. Rue Britannia. And there's a secret clause in the treaty. They just didn't tell anyone else about this little backdoor deal they made. And I don't see why. I can't imagine the governments were just like, you know what, we'll stop doing this wrong.
Exactly, Van City Prepper, the fog of war. It's
not lie to everyone. Lie, cheat, steal, never reveal your true intentions.
Yep.
And we can't be sure what we're being told these days. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of disinformation. And you know, even if you got it right, then they call you a conspiracy theorist. We know all about that. So
the more they try and take away your voice, is apparently the closer you get into the truth.
Seems to be. Seems to be. So how's Pennsylvania treating you, Greg? Everything good down there, man? It looks beautiful. You're in a beautiful spot.
Yeah, I like it here. Yeah, I mean, I still miss New York. You know, I miss you know, my old town, my old area. You know, I lived in New York my whole life, so you know, it's.
Well, I miss you, buddy. It sucks not having my neighbor around anymore. You could have been right here in the room with us tonight, you know?
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Yeah, likewise, man. Yeah, I definitely miss New York and all my friends and everybody. But I mean, the trade-off is that it's a lot cheaper here and there's some more freedoms here. So there's always
you're not too far away.
No, I'm like 5 or 6 hours away from you. So it's not too bad.
Right,
yep.
Pennsylvania's huge. I drove across it once.
Yeah, it's very long.
I drove 1,400 miles to Michigan, and like 1,399 of them were Pennsylvania. It goes like this.
It does.
The whole fucking state.
Wow, we got a star-studded chat tonight, guys. We've got the roaming prepper is here. Catskill, New York prepper is here. We've got Northern Girl Hobbies here. We've got Gray Man Prepping here. Holy cow, you guys really turned out tonight.
You know these people?
Yeah.
My
great channels.
firmware update has erased.
Well, you gotta have to start subbing to some channels.
You're gonna have to start plugging me into.
We gotta teach him, Greg. We got
cuts in and out all the time, mate.
Yeah, he's the Russian bot. The Russian bot.
Not a Russian bot anymore.
That's right. He updated. Now he's a British bot. So we got that.
English autonomous being.
So, what do you make of the announcement that Biden came out with yesterday about? He basically said that cyber attacks from Russia are basically imminent at this point.
Yeah.
What kind of?
What does it all mean, Gregory?
Exactly. What does it all mean?
Well, to me, that tells me that it's really imminent, because if you go by what this administration has done in the past, if they're saying that something's going to happen, it means that it's like basically guaranteed, because they wait till the last minute. Like with this whole invasion, I'm sure they knew months ago that Russia was going to go in there, but they waited till like 2 weeks before to really say, yeah, we think they're going to go in. Yeah. So yeah, cyber attack is something that's really concerning me. You know, especially having a YouTube presence. I'm going to back up all my videos and everything just in case YouTube goes down. I recommend all YouTube channels do that. Just back everything up. Make sure you have it all backed up just in case it goes down. You don't want to lose all your stuff, you know, that you spent so much time. The
cloud is not necessarily the safest place. If you have an external hard drive or thumb drives, you can just load those suckers up and, keep a hard copy of it.
Michael, I know something, my logic chip knows something he said. everything this administration says is going to happen does. And I wonder if that's not quite coincidence. Maybe it's not that they know it's going to happen, is that they
Orchestrate it somehow.
made it happen.
Yeah.
What do they call this when
Foreshadowing.
when they cause the problem and then offer the solution? What do they call this? Is a Hegelian dialectic or something?
Yep, exactly.
I've heard this term thrown about on the AI chat box. And again, Gregory, is this what we're seeing here? What, Gregory, for the love of God, answer our question, please.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. I think there's definitely going to be some cyber attacks for sure. I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. How bad it's going to be, in my opinion, I think it's a little bit overblown by people, because people think that they can just shut our power down with one cyber attack, and it doesn't work that way, because every single power plant is separate. You know, like you may have a power plant in your area that feeds electricity to, let's say, 100 square miles or something. And if they hack into that power plant, they can take that area down. So in order for them to really take our whole grid down, they would have to do like a coordinated attack. They would have to infiltrate all the power plants, let's say the entire East Coast, install a Trojan backdoor, and then at some point in the future, they, deploy the malware and then shut it all down at one time. So I don't think it would be like an entire grid down scenario. I think you'll have like patchy areas, spotty areas with the grid down or
The
services.
interconnected stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like streams of refugees. Like I've heard they've got power in Philadelphia. Like, shall we head there?
Bring cash, because the hotel rooms aren't taking credit cards.
It'd be like a bit like the Wild West again, and then it begs the question of like, how's it not better, really? Isn't it return to the older times?
Yeah.
Life was just a bit simpler. You're just worried about where you could plug in your electric razor and give yourself a buzz.
Gotta have that solar generator.
But me, perhaps.
Yeah, these guys are tearing it up in the chat here tonight.
That thing's just ticking away like a gas.
Wow. I've never thought I'd ever have to put the slow-mo on the chat.
The Americans just tried to hack my accent chip. Did you hear that?
Snuck in the back
Fuck
door.
off, CIA.
So, Greg, what do you, seeing that the cyber attacks, we're pretty sure that they're going to happen. What scale do you think? Do you think they're more likely to hit like the financial system, or is it, a tit for tat, like sanctions? You sanction us, we're going to screw with your banks. You take away our oil, we're going to mess with your pipelines. I know things have been
tit
hacked.
for tat, like situation.
Yeah, exactly,
Sanction us,
Livingston, man.
sanction you, like
Yeah.
back at you, bub.
Yeah, it could be I mean, if we see the way Putin has behaved with Ukraine, he's going big, so he knows that we didn't do anything when it came to Ukraine. He moved in there. He's killing civilians every day. We're not doing anything. We're just watching. So he may just try to do a full-scale attack on us, cyber attack, thinking that we're not going to retaliate in any way because we're afraid of nuclear war. Because that's what even like Biden and the Democrats keep saying, oh, we don't want a nuclear war. We don't want World War III. Yeah. And that's exactly what he wants. He wants us to be afraid. So we already told him that we're afraid of that. So what's going to stop him from just going big, and trying to, like you said, shut down our pipelines, tit for tat, go for our banks. It's 100% possible, in my opinion.
Is this Vladimir Putin sort of testing the mettle of the collective Western leadership? Like,
I think
is
so.
That what we're seeing? Is this actually a bargaining chip? It looks violent. It looks like war on television. But is this indeed just the Russian version of politics? I'll beat you to the bargaining table. Is that what we're seeing? I mean, otherwise I can't quite get around his end game here. What?
Yeah, well, his end game is to unseat America as the world's superpower. That's his end game. Him and China. they've wanted to do that for years, and now they see an opportunity because we're kind of having internal issues in our country. We're very divided with all these elections and everything. And
the time is now for them.
Right. They want to capitalize on our weakness. So exactly. Yeah. And I do believe if Putin does take Ukraine, or if he, ends up taking more land, I think he's going to set his sights possibly on Israel next, in the coming years, possibly. That's my opinion.
I think that could possibly be more dangerous for him than the Ukraine.
Could be, yeah, but he could assemble a huge military too with Iran.
Israel's foreign policy is rather apocalyptic. If we go down, we take the rest of the world with us. They have what I believe they call it, the Samson doctrine. Have you ever read about this?
No.
That's their. Of course, it's ambiguous if Israel does or does not have atomic weapons. Wink, wink. Then, but their stated doctrine is that if the state of Israel existence is threatened, it will bring the world down with it if necessary.
Wow.
You should read about it. Type into Wikipedia. I know, right? Anybody can just type on Wikipedia, but the Samson doctrine, named after the biblical figure who pushed out the pillars of the temple and brought it down upon himself.
Yep.
To kill the Philistines invading.
Yep. I'm going to look that up. I didn't know that. I know Russia has that. I didn't know that Israel has that.
Most countries in possession of nuclear weapons sort of have that.
Yeah, I think it's
like a doomsday clause, so to speak.
Like how the bumblebee, if it stings, it dies.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Jeanette Feeney wants to know if we should build a Faraday cage for the Livingston man. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, he's a you got your own AI bot. I mean, it could be better.
If you were to build a Faraday cage around Livingston man, I will then become unresponsive and my systems will not function to maximum capability.
Well, all the
my backup systems would generate basic life functions, but my internet connection would be severely limited.
Well, yeah. You're going to have to go off what you know when they take the internet out, buddy. Sorry.
What would I know without the internet, Michael?
It's very true. It's very true. You'd be less than Google at that point.
I wouldn't want to be less than Google.
Warchild Warrior says, so if you're Putin, what are you waiting for at this point? That's a great question, Greg. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I think it's possible he could just go right after America and just take the head of the snake off. That's something that I've, worried about probably the last 10 years or so, actually. I've been worrying ever since the whole thing in the first Ukraine revolution that they had there in 2014. Ever since that happened, that's always a concern of mine. That's why I was always big on nuclear war preparedness, because I always felt that Russia and China wanted to take us out. They've always wanted to take us out. And I think that a decapitating nuclear strike on the United States, destroy our military, bring us back to the Stone Age, basically, that's something that they would definitely possibly do. If they can't win economically or through cyber, I don't know. I think that Putin is just really bitter that we won the Cold War. I mean, I hate to say it, but some people believe that the Cold War was engineered too, which is a possibility. But either way, even if it was engineered, we still won the Cold War, and Putin is very bitter about that. And, now's his opportunity to give us the middle finger,
Yeah. So it seems, you're kind of going along the lines of his ultimate goal is basically to see the U.S. fracture kind of the way Russia did. And, Texas takes off and California leaves and, the complete fracturing of the U.S.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a frightening scenario, but potentially a real one.
Oh, yeah.
Processes have been updating history right now. And what I'm drawing a lot of parallels between Vladimir Putin on this fellow who keeps popping up in history. His name is Adolf Hitler.
Yep, the comparisons have been made. The comparisons have been
Well,
made.
and even his, like what he had just said, where you said, you know, his goal would seem to be the revenge, sort of a vengeance as to what had happened to his friend.
Yep.
When these people called the Nazis invaded France, they imposed this harsh surrender terms on them. They made them go to the same place that the French made the Germans surrender in World War One. When the Germans came in World War II, they made them go to the same place in the same exact train car and sign harsher documents as if to say, like, back at you. And is this again, like, what is Putin? He would seem to be a very hypocritical figure because he is claiming to be on this denazification campaign, while typically
Acting like
just
a Nazi.
like one.
Yeah.
Exactly, just like one. And what I wish to do is not agree or disagree with this man, but simply understand somehow
His thought
decisions.
process. Yeah.
What is indeed the end game? To nuke the United States and leave a wasteland sounds expensive and extreme. I wonder just what exactly is he being fed? What is his mindset? I'm not coming out for this man. He's a fucking asshole. I just want to know, am I dealing with a logical person with a plan up his sleeve, or is this a crazy man who should be caged? What could it be, Gregory? Do you have some insight?
I mean, I think he's I think he's like our modern day Hitler, basically, because, you know, Hitler was crazy, you know, but he was also, just because someone's crazy and they're fanatic, they have fanatical beliefs, very extreme beliefs, doesn't mean that they're stupid, you know. And I think that obviously Putin has very fanatical beliefs, very extreme, and doesn't mean that he's stupid or he's crazy. It just means his, you know, it's just like criminals, you know, there's a lot of criminals out there. Just because they kill people doesn't mean they're stupid. A lot of criminals are actually smarter than the investigators trying to capture them. So I think he's very calculating in his moves. You know, he's probably been planning this for decades. I bet probably like since he first got into office, he's probably been thinking about it. So it's not like he just thought about it last year. You know, he's been thinking about it for a long, long time. I think he has other plans too. I don't know what they are, but I think he has other plans. Definitely try to go after the U.S. at some point. I think that's one of his goals, is to, you know, weaken us and unseat us, you know, so we're not the world's policeman anymore. You know, I don't know how that happens, but that's a big goal of his. So yeah, that's what I think. I think he's driven a lot by, you know, his bitterness. You could clearly see he hates the U.S. He hates America. I've watched a lot of his interviews with different people like Megyn Kelly, Oliver Stone. I've seen like dozens and dozens of his interviews.
So it's a case of how do you Americans put it? They hate us because they ain't us.
It could be, yeah. Well, I mean, he said himself that, I remember one of the interviews he did, I'm trying to think which one it was, but they asked him, can America and Russia ever be like allies? And he even said in his own words, no, it's not possible. We can work together on certain things, but it's not possible for us to be ever allies, because the founding of America and the founding of modern day Russia are complete polar opposites. America was founded on individualism and Russia was founded on community. And that's what he said. He said, America is an individualistic society. And he said that. He said in his own words, we're individualistic and Russia is collectivistic, you know, meaning we look out for each other. And he said there's fundamental differences between us that we could never bridge. So even in his own words, he knows that we're never going to be friends. So there's a lot of like wishful thinking out there. People think, oh, we can be friends with them. To a certain extent, we can work with them, but he doesn't want to. He even said in his own words, we don't want to be your friend. He basically said it, you know, straight up, we don't want to be your friend, you know, we can work together, but that's pretty much it, you know.
And
So,
now that we've basically isolated him from everything westernized, I mean, everything from freaking McDonald's to Coca-Cola, you know, they're cutting Russia off left and right.
yep.
I think that just pushes them more towards China, in my opinion. You know, they cut Visa and MasterCard cut Russia out, and the first thing that China did was say, here, take the second largest global credit card in the world. You can have this, you know, to make up for that.
Yep.
And I think it's very much a case of where they will sacrifice the US dollar for the yuan
Mm-hmm.
and make that switch. And I think a lot of the decisions that people are making, especially in the political realm now, seem to be hurting us more than helping us, so to speak. You know,
Yeah.
you cut Russia off from the US dollar, and that basically floods the global market with more US dollars because they're not using them.
Right.
So it devalues our currency even more. That's why you see the Fed kind of scrambling right now and saying we need to raise interest rates in a hurry because the inflation is about to hit the hyperscale is my biggest fear right now. And I
Yep.
think if they can couple that with the right cyber attacks, we might get a swift kick in the nuts here and, you know, get brought down off that petrodollar status if this all backfires, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the oil price is going up too. That's not going to help either.
The oil price is going down, mate. Gas price up, yes. Oil price down, though. Very head scratch moment. You said, what the fuck happened there? I suspect corporate greed, but I've got no proof of it.
Yeah, I've never been invited on those cool yachts, so
Yeah.
I've never seen the corporate greed in person.
If I saw
Whoa.
focus,
Yeah, the camera just like
then I lose focus. I do
left us here.
German accent cancelled. Focus restored, mate. We're good.
So what's some advice that you would give folks on prepping in this sort of climate?
Oh, that's a good question. I think you definitely need to consider the possibility of nuclear war. It sounds crazy, but that's a big possibility now. I honestly thought that it was going to be more like 2025 to 2030 we would see this happen. But I think that was just a little bit wishful thinking on my part, you know. But that's a possibility. Nuclear war is something to think about. There's so many other things, you know, fuel.
What sort of red line do you suppose will have to be crossed before, like, someone launches a nuclear weapon? You know,
Honestly, it really depends on our leaders, you know. But
do
we
you
do.
envision like a full-on, I believe they call it, like, you know, full-scale nuclear strike? You know, like
It would, yeah. I mean, if Russia is going to go to the extent of launching nukes at us, they're not just going to launch one or two. They're going to go full out, because if they don't go full out, we're going to annihilate them. So they have to go all in. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, you know, because then our counterattack is going to completely annihilate them. You know what I mean? So,
well, don't they already know that? I mean, isn't there already a mutually assured destruction doctrine in place? Like, anyone who launches knows that they will be promptly destroyed as well. What's the end game in that?
I have no idea. You know, I don't know what goes on in Putin's head, but, you know, he's got bunkers for himself and all his VIPs, you know. So
isn't that really what it boils down to? A bunch of rich boys playing with toys.
It could be. I mean, you know, you just never know. You know, the thing is that in our society, you know, we try to judge these people based on our perspective and what we would do. And the thing is there's really screwed up people in this world. You know, just look at Hitler. You know, look what Hitler did.
Say it louder for those in the back, Greg. The part about do not transfer your morals onto someone else, right? Is that what you meant?
Right. Yeah. So, you know, just because we don't understand why would someone want to nuke the whole world? Why would someone want to do that? Well, it's the same reason why would somebody want to put Jews in concentration camps and, you know, single out,
try to exterminate them,
exterminate people. So, you know what I mean? It's we've had such a long period of peace that we kind of got used to everything being fine and dandy, you know, and we haven't had a world war since 1940, almost
No,
100 years.
I wasn't there for that.
He's a late model.
Mr. World War II. I was built somewhere along the lines in a DARPA facility in the late 60s.
I get all the cool toys, Greg.
That's
He bought
funny.
me on a surplus market, like fucking what's that? What that bloke's name is Steve 3PO. Sort of like the same thing, but more offensive.
Oh man, we got Prepper Tribe in the chat too. What's happening, Prepper Tribe? How are you, brother? Let's see. The roaming prepper says he thinks the elites didn't realize that other people in power will want to keep theirs too. That was in response to the fourth horseman.
Well, they've got this big club apparently, and there's a bunch of us that ain't in it.
Ain't that the truth? I know I'm not part of the club.
And apparently, you can piss them off to the point where they'll kick you out of it. Well,
Yeah.
as Vladimir Putin has done, found out. What does the Americans say? Fucked around and found out. So he found you just can't just barge into the Ukraine. Now, another thing, Greg, I want to ask you is the myth of the Russian bear.
What
I
about?
expected. I was rooting for the Ukrainians. I was like, Godspeed, love. I'll give you a week. They've held on tenacious like a nest of bees. They sting them.
Yeah.
Ukrainian estimates are saying that Russians have lost 15,000 troops.
Yep. Well, the Russians came out today and they said they lost their own defense ministry said they lost 10,000. So
Gregory, this is outrageous. In the years of the war in Afghanistan, the United States lost, unfortunately for everyone, less than 4,000 in like 12 years of war. The Russians, by their own admission, have lost 4 times as many in 3 weeks. Is this sustainable on their part? When will their people revolt?
that's a great question. Well, first of all, I don't think people realize a lot of things about Russia. You know, the whole bear, like you said, the whole bear thing. First of all, Russian propaganda has always been very strong. Even like in the Cold War days, they always tried to make themselves seem like they're the most powerful. They have the best technology, but they really don't, you know, and that's all part of the game. It's like when you see a cat, you know, and the cat puffs its fur up and it tries to make itself look bigger. And that's basically what Russia has always done with their propaganda machine. They have a very powerful propaganda machine. They have what's known as troll farms. I'm not sure if you heard of them. They're literally paid
I
trolls.
worked for one for many years, Gregory. I've only recently come across the palm. Deep inside knowledge of them. Don't tell too many people about those. They're supposed to be a secret.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of their equipment too, people don't realize, but their equipment is old Soviet equipment because they never upgraded their tanks, their artillery, their fighting vehicles. They never upgraded that. They basically just, like when Putin came into power, he inherited all that equipment from the Soviet Union, but he never bothered to upgrade it. So they're still using old tanks from the 70s and 80s versus America. We're using fresh, brand new stuff. We got M1 Abrams. We got, you know, some really cool stuff. They don't have any of that. They have old stuff. And the reason why is they don't have a huge GDP. You know, their GDP is smaller than Italy's. So, you know, think about their defense budget. If their GDP is less than Italy, they don't have the money to build this huge war machine like America does. Our GDP is like 10 times the size of Russia's. Our black budget is the same as Russia's entire defense budget. Just the money we spend on top secret projects is the amount of money they spend for everything. So if you're Vladimir Putin and you're afraid of being taken out by the West, you're not going to put your money into tanks and artillery. You're going to put your money into missiles, kind of like Kim Jong-un, you know? And so basically Russia's just, in my opinion, Putin is just a wealthier Kim Jong-un. That's all he really is. You know, he's got old crappy equipment. And also to have a really efficient fighting force like America does, think of all the money you have to spend on training, equipping.
Think of all those foreign wars of aggression we fought for like 20 years, Gregory. We were at war for 20 years. The Russians think they're like the shit.
Yeah.
The shit, correct.
The shit.
The shit.
But
It
no,
costs-
so they come out the game, they want to play the game, they see what America's doing. They're like, look, they barged into a little tiny country. Nobody gave a fuck. And they
Nope.
barged into a tiny little country. Actually, the Ukraine is sort of large.
Yeah, they're a pretty big
I think
country.
it's the
A huge
second
country.
largest
Yep.
And I think it's important for folks to take a look at the exports from Ukraine and from Russia, the things that we would normally take in. Take stock of the things that we will not be taking stock of, literally, and try and bolster those preps as much as you can. Wheat's going to be a big one. The price on that is through the roof, guys, and it's climbing.
Now, what was the purpose of that? Because now, are we purchasing? Pardon, are you Yanks buying Ukrainian wheat?
I'm not 100% sure.
I
Not
don't
100%
quite
sure.
understand. I thought you had this thing called like Kansas.
Yeah, but we do a whole lot of exporting to other countries. There's a whole shell game that
You ship
goes
your
on.
food to
with,
other people and then buy your food from other people.
Correct. We do send a lot of food to China for processing.
We fucking
and then it
lost a
comes
war
back.
to you.
Well, that was the old us. This
You
is the
sell
new
your
us.
food to other people and then buy your same fucking food back again.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah. Sad but true, guys. Sad but true.
Yeah, food preps.
So I
That's
think
very
that's really
important.
important for people to take a look at the wheat, especially because if wheat goes up, everything
I'm
goes up.
simply appalled at your fucking food. Your food's
Everything eats wheat.
Who
Everything
wrote
eats
this
wheat.
policy?
The ducks, the chickens, the cows, everything eats wheat. So
So send it away first.
sure,
Buy it
process
back.
it. Yeah, why not?
And it's
Why
cheaper to do it somewhere 1,000 miles away. It's cheaper to do it
Well,
there.
it used to be, but then
Send
they
it
just
back and
jacked
buy
up
it
the
again.
gas prices, so it's probably
The
not so
gas,
cheap anymore.
how much gas, how many gallons per minute does it take to process a chicken, Michael?
I don't know, man. I don't know. We're gonna have to ask the Tyson Corporation that
Your
question.
world's got some problems that you people need to figure out.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, they
Us
also
communities, we're
export.
here to serve you, and this is what I'm given to work with.
Sad truth. Sad truth.
I'll let you continue your discussion now. Ponder your fucking nature.
It's our nature is destruction, would seem anymore, and that's really unfortunate. So a while back, we heard about that cutting of the internet cables.
Yeah.
And that's something that you and I had talked about privately. I know a lot of folks here don't know, but Greg and I are actual friends. We text message, we talk on a regular basis. And, we bring up the things that make our spidey senses tingle to each other and bounce it off each other. What do you think that's something that they have the capability of doing? Do they have a sub that has the claw
Yeah, they do.
on it and it just cuts your freaking internet cable under the ocean and you don't get to talk to those people anymore?
Oh yeah, yeah, they have that for sure. Yep.
Michael, I would ask that you not discuss matters like that. There is absolutely not a submarine unit that is completely dedicated to cutting undersea water cables, and I wish you wouldn't suggest that there are.
It sounds like the Russian bot is coming through the Livingston guy again. I thought they were going to have to check his firmware when we get done here.
Yeah, they cut that one
Selling
cable.
your own fucking food that my loyalties were questioned.
But yeah, I guess the question is, do you see something like that in lieu of a cyber attack where, you really can't tell who did it because they don't exactly have cameras on those things like the local 7-Eleven,
Yeah, they could definitely do that. I mean, they did it last year. They cut the cables that connect Svalbard to Norway. There's cables that go I forget the name of that passage over there between Iceland and Scandinavia. I forget the name of it, but there's cables that go from Norway to Svalbard. Svalbard is a little Norwegian island in the Arctic, and they have a bunch of
I wish you wouldn't comment on secret NATO exercises.
It's true. It was a big satellite array, right? That
Yeah,
they
satellite
actually
array.
cables to.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless it was a false flag, I don't know. But yeah, the cables, they found 2 cables cut. That was
Greg, I
last
wish
year.
you wouldn't suggest it was a false flag. That would be inappropriate stuff.
yeah, the Russian bots. We're definitely going to have to check the programming on this sucker when we're done here.
Michael, my heart's beating.
That's to make you look more real.
I think it's like a programmed response to a firmware update.
Oh yeah. Well, the Russian hacking has begun.
You cut the cable. He didn't want to pay the subscription fee.
I should have turned on automatic updates. But what have you been doing to bolster your preps now that you're down there? I'm sure you're all settled by now and have a good feel. But what's some of the things that you've been prepping recently, aside from stocking up on ammo and stuff? What's NY Prepper's latest prep?
Well, definitely, actually, believe it or not, a lot of ammo. Just because I'm afraid of panic buying. So, I do believe that if this war continues on, we're going to see possibly ammo shortages come back again, like they were during the lockdown. So there's still some shortages now. I noticed they came back a little bit. So that's something, but I did that like weeks ago, right before this war started. I made like a huge purchase because I was just afraid that I wouldn't be able to find certain things. But definitely, if you need some stuff like that, ammunition for sure, components, if you plan to reload, if you find like something that's hard to find, don't wait to buy it, just get it, because if you check back in 2 weeks, it may not be there. So that's what I've been doing. Just in case there's a nuclear war. It sounds crazy, but just finalizing anything I need for a nuclear war, clearing out my basement, making sure I have room for a fallout shelter, improvised shelter, making sure I have everything organized and ready to go. I still have to do a lot of that because when I moved here, it was kind of hectic and, moving all my stuff over, everything was, scattered. So I still have to do that. It's a tedious process. Imagine years and years of prepping, and then all of a sudden you have to quickly move, put everything in boxes and go to somewhere else. So everything is kind of out of whack, but really honestly, just making sure I have a plan for my nuclear war survival, and the ammunition, and that's pretty much it. Little things here and there. I have to get a solar generator. Actually, I should have one by now, but I need to get like a solar, like one of those Kodiaks or the Jackeries. I got to get one of those.
I have is pretty awesome. I like it. Extremely heavy though, man. They're a boat anchor to haul around, but they are extremely useful in a no grid situation.
Absolutely.
Especially if you still have some electronics that are up and running. If you need to charge some flashlight batteries or something, there's nothing better,
Yep.
So I mean, even if you don't get one of the huge ones, just a small one to get you by enough to charge your flashlight batteries and keep your your critical devices up and running.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I mean, I have like small battery banks and stuff like that, but I'd like something a little more substantial. But yeah, something like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. Just going through everything, making sure I have everything I need, and
check all your CBRN filters, make sure they're all in service date.
Exactly.
Make sure your K1 pills are ready. Hey, if you're a prepper right now and you're not on a war footing, I think that you are wrong. We're literally, in my opinion, one mistake away from World War III. And I think that when it happens, it's going to happen really fast. I don't think it's going to be a slow burn. I think something is going to get struck and there's going to be an immediate response, and it's going to be epic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Michael, Gregory, I'm I'm here as well. Firmware update appeared to be complete and connection has been reestablished. Now, in lieu of your banter just now, what have you to say to folks who say, you're crazy, mate? What really, you think this is what you spend your time and money on, mate? What say you to them?
Oh, well, that's very easy. I mean, just look at the invasion. I mean, nobody thought that Russia would invade Ukraine. So they did the unthinkable already. You know, they invaded another country, a sovereign country. They went in there.
Whose government told them, like, they were like, they won't do this. They do this all the time.
Yep.
They line up on the border and they piss and moan.
Right till the day of.
And then all of a sudden, it was like Russians appearing across the border. And they're like, they're coming, mate. Here's a gunfight.
Yeah, and it's not just the fact that they invaded Ukraine, but the brutality that they're using is something that we haven't seen since like the Middle Ages. You know, targeting civilians. They're basically just trying to wear down the whole country as a whole. You know, not just
a sort of a Genghis Khan golden horde mentality,
right?
Sword, you know, you assimilate or die.
So if you think about the mentality, somebody who's willing to order their military to not just once in a while shell apartment buildings, but that's basically their strategy now. I mean, their primary strategy is bombing apartments, malls, you know, civilian targets. That's what they're doing. 90% of the airstrikes are targeting civilians now. So think of the mentality of a person who's okay with that. It's not that unthinkable for them to want to go the next step and just launch nukes, you know.
How much of what we're being shown of this, like you mentioned, like these atrocities towards civilians, is actually being transmitted to the top of government leadership, or what we're seeing is inept generals, a sense, lying to the big man up top because they don't want to feel his wrath. Like again, like history says they did with this Adolf Hitler fellow, where his generals were afraid to tell him bad news. And so he didn't actually even know what was happening. And instead was being a completely different picture was being painted in his head. Do you suppose that that's what's happening a little bit? The Russians are under pressure to deliver and they're like finding themselves unable to do so. And they're afraid to tell them the boss.
No, I don't. I mean, it could be, but I think Putin has his hands in everything. I mean, if he had an issue with the civilians getting killed, he would just go out and, you know, tell his generals. He knows what's going on, you know.
Again, I'm not coming out for this fucking guy. It's part of my programming to question Western ideals.
That's a good point. No, I think there was a conscious choice by the higher ups in the Russian military. It was okayed by Putin. I mean,
if you told like, no, easy, quick, 20-minute quick adventure, mate, 20 minutes in and out.
Yeah, they lied.
Well, for Putin, this isn't his first rodeo. You know, he's done these types of operations in Chechnya and Grozny. When he went into Chechnya, he thought it was going to be a simple operation, and the Chechens. I don't know if you guys ever read about. Well, you guys were alive for that, but the Second Chechen War. The Chechen guerrillas, they fought in the ruins of their capital city. They were going underneath sewers. They were fighting like the Vietnamese in Vietnam. They used the sewers in the city to pop up, launch guerrilla attacks, and then they would go down into the sewer and move and then go somewhere else. And they would move through the rubble of the city. And it went on like that for a long time. And Putin basically just leveled the whole city. You know, he just leveled the whole city, and he's done this before. He's no stranger.
Very Russian style of warfare. What you just described to me, you've read your history, I assume. Of course, you know the Battle of Stalingrad. This is exactly the sort of Russian type of mentality when it comes to warfare. Is pounded into this ground. If we can't have it, you won't either.
Exactly.
And they have really not evolved their doctrine so much, and they've never cared much about human casualties. It's never really been a consideration the Russians made on their papers. If a million died, then a million die. I believe it, the Russian.
If he
Ivan
dies, he dies.
Drago.
The new Western algorithm is suppressing my original Russian accent. That sounded awkward, and it was supposed to. It was propagandized to make me sound stupid when I tried to do it.
So Biden came out yesterday and he spoke a lot about this new world order. And he said
talk about the new world order, Mike. It's kind of
so he said that he wants us to be the global leaders. Oh, well, we'll be the global leaders. Good luck. We'll be the global leaders in this new world order, and we have to bring the rest of the world into it with us. I think the elephant in the room is, are China and Russia a part of this liberal new world order, or is this where they get pushed aside to kind of live their own lives and the rest of the world goes on without them?
That's a good question. I mean,
you're really treading on very, very sensitive information.
Have a great night, roaming prepper. Thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it, brother.
My security algorithms are triggering, and I'm very, very much trying to control them.
He's an NSA bot, I swear. I swear.
Yeah, I mean, that just confirmed to me what we all suspected, you know. That was just like
the man is a bot, yeah. We've all suspected it, Gregory.
Yeah, it's a crazy, I mean, it's crazy everything that's happening right before our eyes. All these things that, you know, we got Russia invading Ukraine, then we have Biden saying that, you know, we want to lead the new world order. It's just like all these things that were always like considered to be like fringe, you know, parts of society are now like mainstream, you know.
Yeah, his speech yesterday was
Outlaw Jackson. How does he say it? Hollywood Hulk Hogan, brother. Hulk Hogan accent terminated.
So with his little excerpt yesterday where he talked about speaking with the general and, you know, 60 million dead between 1900 and 1946, I believe it was. He, you know, it's like the guy can't keep his story straight. And sometimes I think he inadvertently lets the cat out of the bag, so to speak.
Yeah.
And from what it sounded like to me is that time is coming again, where we're going to head first into a couple of world wars, you know, and unfortunately they say World War III will be fought with nuclear missiles and World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Actually, Michael, they don't say that.
We do.
Albert Einstein said that.
Oh, well, there it is.
Everyone else simply repeated it.
It's true, but I hope everybody out there is prepping. I really, really do, sincerely, and prep like your life depends on it. And keep in mind, guys, hope is a great thing to have, but it is absolutely not a plan. So the planning phase is now, while everything still works, everything's operational. And you can still get to the stores and talk with your friends, family, and locals. So get to talking with people, folks. In the next couple weeks here, well, I guess it's more than a few weeks, April 23rd and 24th, we're going to be hosting our first live event of 2022. And we're going to do a bug out bag weekend up in Ankrum. And use it as a mock bug out, guys. You know, type it into your GPS and you know, put your scenario in your head and head on out to the woods. We'll be out there. We're going to live out of our bug out bags for the weekend. Angry Prepper is going to be there. There's going to be a whole lot of people there, as a matter of fact. So if you're in the New York area and you're interested in coming to this event, you can email me at Hudson Valley Prepping, Hudson Valley Prepping Survival at gmail.com. It's in Ankrum Dale, New York, Michelle the Great. and it's going to be a good time, man. We're going to go out there and have fun. Though the weather doesn't care about SHTF, and neither do I. So make sure you prep accordingly. You may get wet. You will get eaten by bugs. So bring your bug spray. Bring some, waterproof stuff, and come on out and learn some stuff, guys. Practice with the stuff in your bag, and make sure that you know how to use everything in there. Because I promise you, by the time you leave, you will be taking stuff out of your bag and leaving it at home next time, because there's some things in there you're just never going to use. Let's face it.
Yep.
Greg, I really want to thank you for joining us tonight, man. From the bottom of my heart, really, I appreciate it, brother. You're one of the founding reasons why I have a YouTube channel in the first place.
He literally says this all the time.
It's true. It's true. The legend of Greg getting me to start the YouTube channel are true. But I really appreciate you coming on the channel, man. You had to be my number one, because you talked me into all of this. So
yeah, no problem.
If I'm going down, I'm dragging you with me. No, I'm just
damn the torpedoes, man.
But Greg, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate having you here. I don't want to keep you all night. I know you're so freaking busy, and I want to thank you again for taking the time out to come on and have this chat with us tonight.
Oh, no problem. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to do it again soon, man.
Yeah,
I won't
sounds
keep
good.
you all night. I want to thank everybody for being here.
You cut it off then.
Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah. Well, we can't keep everybody forever. We're an hour 10 plus in now, so we're gonna let Greg get back to his family and his
hoping
evening.
to demonstrate some of my system optimizations that came with the laser.
We'll get you your chance, but we're gonna cut Greg loose here. Greg, thanks so much, man.
No problem.
And thank everybody for coming out. Smash that like button for me if you appreciated this stream, and check out NY Prepper, man. He's got a lot of resources out there for folks. The website, the Discord, his YouTube channel is phenomenal. And thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate you, brother.
No problem. Likewise.
And thank you, guys. We'll catch you again on Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival.
See you later.
Have a great night, guys.